Okay, so we are recording. All right, so I'll just start by introducing myself. My name's Cassie Carpenter, and my favorite thing about this course would probably have to be how we're using what we learn and already applying it in social situations and like real life situations, because I feel like that's sometimes hard with other courses. And we don't see how it relates as much, but I feel like this is helpful in that way. And as far as my career goals go, right now I'm working for a surgeon in Rexburg, and I really, really, really love that job. So if I could work there forever, I would. But with public health, I'm not exactly sure like what more I want to do with it, but I like studying it, and I know there's lots of different directions you can go with it. So perhaps I'll pursue something with that one day. But as for right now, I'm just going to keep working for the surgeon. And I was born and raised in Idaho, but I'm currently living in Louisiana for the summer. And that is me. Do you want to go next, Cassie?
Yes. So my name's Cassie. I am from Las Vegas, but when I got married in July, I ended up moving to Yuma, Arizona. And so we're here. And I have a 4-year-old stepson who's awesome. We just set up our sealing date, so we're getting sealed August 18th. We're really excited for that. What I like about this course is kind of what you're saying is how you're able to apply it into like real life situations and talk about it. It's not just straight textbook reading. It's a lot more like hands-on and applying what you've learned. Right now I'm working at a pediatric dental office. I'm an assistant there where I get to do like chairside assisting with the dentist. So I'm the one who hands them all the stuff when you're getting like a filling done or anything like that. And yeah, let's see. I don't know what my career goals are, honestly. I just want to be happy, and at this point, I just want to be done with school.
Same.
Okay, perfect. Karen, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Karen Pulley, and what I like about this class is the fact that since I am older, I've been able to see a more practical aspect of it. How, because I actually work for the state, and I've worked where we have a lot of interaction with the public, and so I can see it come into play. As far as career goals go, I work for the state of California, and I will be able to retire like in 6 years. So after I retire, I want to like volunteer. So I want to use my degree for volunteer work.
That's awesome. Perfect. All right, Fernanda.
Hi, so my name is Fernanda Prada. I was born and raised in Mexico. It's like a smaller state, closer to Mexico City, but no one knows it. I live in Utah right now, and I got married like 3 years ago. I'm really bad at dates. It was like about 3 years ago. And yeah, I like about this class that we get to, as you said, it's like a hands-on class where we get to actually practice and put into practice what we're learning. It's a little bit more complicated too because it's something that I've never done before. So I'm just like learning along the way, and I'm just like, yeah, just learning along the way. I don't know about my career goals either. I'm not sure. I want to be done with school as well, but I would like to do some volunteer work in the near future. So I think that I would like to go back to Mexico and just do something like that over there. Yeah, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. I like how you guys mentioned you wanted to use it for volunteer work. I hadn't thought about that before.
Do you know where Algodones, Mexico is, Fernanda?
What?
You know where, I think it's pronounced Algodones?
Algodones? It might be like in the north, isn't it?
I was going to say I'm about 20 minutes from there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I used to live more like in the center.
Yeah.
There's like a smaller state from Mexico City, but no one knows it. So it's just like a little bit pointless to mention it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the model review, and we have to summarize how the theory of reasoned action and planned behavior models work. Did you guys fill this out? Yeah, I drew mine. Mine is not as pretty as Karen's. Okay. Yeah, so that's the theory of planned behavior. And then we also have the theory of reasoned action. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Maybe we'll talk about the theory of reasoned action first. Does anybody have anything to say about that at all?
Was that in this past reading, or where was that? Sorry, where was that?
Yeah, okay. So the two models that we talked about were the theory of reasoned action, which, quote, what it says is a person's behavior is determined by their attitude towards the outcome of the behavior and by the opinions of the person's social environment. So I think like what goes along with that is like the person's attitude, the subjective norms, and then their perceived behavioral control. Or no, that goes with the theory of planned behavior, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think that it's more about persuasion, isn't it?
Yeah, and how their behavior changes based on their attitude towards what the outcome is. I feel like it kind of the theory of planned behavior is the one with the table, and it went into more depth with that one. But
yeah, because the theory of reasoned action was the first one they created, and then when they added the theory of planned behavior, that was later, the later model.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add about the theory of reasoned action, Karen?
Well, I think a lot of that, I mean, as it talked about, was the fact that a lot of it is learned behavior. So if you think we're like religious wise with children, if we teach them about God and about being a good person and living a clean life, it's easier for them once they get older to that's like their norm, or their norm beliefs is what they learned when they were young. And I think the same goes for like health wise. If we teach our children to eat healthy and have a well-balanced meal, it becomes more natural to them as they get older.
Okay, yeah. So basically, like their attitude or belief about something is what, like, it comes from what they build up over time and like what they learn throughout their lives.
Right.
So, like, what do you think about when, like, somebody's been taught something their whole life, like your child, for example? I don't have any kids, but I was one at one time. So like my parents taught me something all growing up and I lived it when I was with them, but then I'm like on my own now and I decide that I don't believe that and I start acting in a different way. Like, what do you think about that in regards to the theory?
Well, I think, as you get older and have more life experiences, your opinion can be different than what you grew up as. So, I mean, using the health model, if someone ate unhealthy when they were younger and then they went and took a nutrition class and they learned that certain vitamins and food types were healthier for you, I think that they could change their subjective norms or their beliefs on how you're supposed to eat.
Yeah. I feel like that kind of makes sense too, that the theory of planned behavior came after the theory of reasoned action because of that. Like, if we just had the theory of reasoned action and we believe that our attitudes completely came from what we grew to believe over time, then there's no reason for us to change our attitudes or change our minds about anything. Or there's not no reason, but no description for why we did. Or so that's good that we have the theory of planned behavior to
And I think
recognize why.
And I think that we can, I mean, it's not a certain age where you stop changing your behavior. It can evolve over time. Last semester I took a class and we learned a lot about pesticides and stuff like that. And I mean, it's changed. Like, I make sure I wash all my fruit and stuff like that. So I think it's an evolving change.
Yeah, it's your intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
To perform that change or that behavior.
Right. When you learn something, your intention can change the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Do you have anything to add, Cassie?
No, I think I just kind of agree that it does, as you are older and kind of get more experience, you get, like a different mindset than that which you were raised on. You kind of have like your own independence. And I feel like that sometimes will change you slowly, just like little by little, but eventually you can like change and have different habits and norms.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about the theory of planned behavior and the charts that we went over from the readings. So you want to talk about what like normative beliefs are? Does anybody? Or like subjective norms?
Okay, well, I'm looking at the reading we had, in subjective norms is one's belief that most of the significant others in one's life think one should or should not perform the behavior.
Okay.
So
yeah.
how we can modify that is by influencing normative beliefs and motivation to comply. So, I mean, one example of that can be, let's say, exercise. If your spouse likes to exercise a lot and you don't, but you want to spend time with your spouse, then you could change or modify your behavior by going to the gym or walking with them or something because you want to spend time with them.
Yeah. And I liked how in the reading too, it said with this, there's like a degree or a rating. So with subjective norms, only the people of significance and importance matter. And so like if you think it's important to like their opinion matters, then you'll give it like a +3, kind of matters +2, all the way down to -3, like doesn't matter at all. And so their
Right.
-3 opinions don't really affect your life. But I thought that was kind of cool. I'm like thinking of when people around us affect our opinions, we can kind of put them on the scale as well.
And it was funny too, because when I noticed how they do the rating system, there's a lot of questionnaires that people send you and they have the same kind of formula. And so it made me think a little bit more. You can really kind of put that aspect into anything you do, like evaluating how important it is to you.
Yeah. That's really cool. Fernanda, what did you think about, let's see, what part of it? Did you have any thoughts about like the perceived power or control?
Perceived power?
Like the perceived behavioral control?
I was going to mention from before, like the normative beliefs, but I'm sorry, I was just like, my train of thought.
No, you're good.
So I was just thinking that it's just like, it comes also with the case study that we were studying for, like the overview about Grace's case. It's the individual's belief about the extent to which other people think is important as well to perform particular behavior. That came to mind. Okay, and then what was the question again?
I was just moving on to a different part where we talked about like perceived behavioral control.
Okay.
Like how much a person feels like how much power and control they feel like they have in a situation to be able to.
Oh yeah, I think it's about their perception, right? And their
Yeah.
ability to perform a given behavior. So if you
Yeah.
give them a certain behavior, they get that perception that they have the power to actually modify it or change it. So it's just like a lot of mental power, I guess, and influence as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Cassie, what do you think about attitudes?
Good question. I'm sorry. I'm like totally waiting for my computer to load. It's taking
Oh,
forever.
no.
I have my notes, so I'm like trying to like write everything down. But I definitely think that like your attitude plays a huge role in everything that you do. Because if you have like a positive attitude, you tend to be like more positive in life. As to with like a negative attitude, it affects your behavior. And we talked about that too with that one scenario about like the powder being sugar or poison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, like, because attitudes can be expressed verbally or non-verbally. And so I think it's interesting, and I know that both Karen was my partner for our lesson for health interviews. And I think that something that we noticed is even in ourselves, like when we were showing non-verb or like in our tones or whatever, we felt differently towards different people that we chose to interview. And the way we asked questions affected how they answered. And it was obvious to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that you could also tell like how true their answers were, how honest they were by their tone as well. Because that's what I noticed with my interviews, that in some cases she was really hesitant, that she wouldn't answer right away, or that she like make longer pauses between her words.
Yeah.
So you can immediately tell her attitude towards that question. And some of them I really felt that she felt uncomfortable because she's not, well, from that example, she doesn't really work out.
Yeah.
So I felt that it was a little uncomfortable for her to answer those questions.
Uh-huh. And I think that goes to, I think that kind of ties in the subjective norms and perceived behavioral control, because like for me, and I think I can speak for Karen too, like we noticed like when they would have shifty eyes or those little laughs in between their answers, it seemed like they cared a lot about what we thought about their answers, or they didn't feel as in control, and so they maybe might not have been expressing the full truth. They more cared about our thoughts and the fact that they didn't feel very strong or safe in that environment that we had created, I guess.
Yeah, because with one of the people that I interviewed, I asked if they would be willing to get on a healthy eating and fitness plan, and he told me that if he thought he was overweight, if someone told him that he would be willing to do it, but otherwise, it wouldn't be something that he'd necessarily change one way or another.
Okay, yeah. So that really applies the subjective norm then.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I mean, he's a runner, so I mean, he exercises, but if someone told him he needed to do more, then he would.
Yeah.
I'm adding Justin to the meeting. He just sent me a message.
Oh, okay, cool, perfect. Awesome. I'm glad he's able to join us. Can you invite him, or do I need to do that, Fernanda?
Well, I sent him the same link that you sent me on that email.
Okay, let's hope he can get on here. If he can't, I can invite him.
Okay, he'll let me know for sure.
Okay, when he gets on, we'll have him introduce himself and then just kind of keep going with this. If that's okay.
And then also too, like I have Fernanda's number, but I can't add her to the group to like the group text. So I'll just, like text everyone her number, because it might have to be that whoever started it has to add her.
You guys know I have a warning on my computer. It says remaining meeting time.
Yeah, mine does. Oh my goodness. Wait, how long have we been meeting for? Does anybody know?
About 20 minutes.
It's like about 50 something minutes. But that was like overall time since when you called me, not how long we've been recording.
Oh no. Okay, because let's see, I don't want to end the meeting. Dang.
There it is.
Okay, this is kind of rough, but.
Hi, Justin.
Hey, Justin. Do you want to just we'll just go for 10 more minutes so we don't have to pay. It said I had to upgrade to pay for $15 or go for 10 more minutes for free. So we're just going to go for 10 more minutes. Okay. Justin, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. What are things most people are saying?
Just say like your name, and then also mention what you like about this class and what you want to do with your degree.
Well, my name is Justin Ferreira. I'm majoring in public health. I have one more semester left before I graduate, which is kind of exciting. What else? I like this class. For a lot of different reasons. Learning about different theories, understanding behavior, why people do things that they do in the community, things like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Awesome.
Can we get your number so we can put you on the group text too, though?
Yeah, sorry about that. I should have done that. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 714-510-5362. Yeah, I should have done that when I confirmed. Then I would have known the change, because I don't always look on the group. What do you call it? The discussion board.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of keep moving along here, where we don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna talk about applying these models, and I mean we kind of already have, but sorry. One question we need to answer is, what kind of interventions centered on these processes move people through the stages? And we can talk about the examples that we had in our reading, which is kind of already done, but we can just continue to do that a little bit more and have Justin add your input too. So we're talking about the theory of reason action and the theory of planned behavior, and how we can fit those into the scenarios that we were given and different interventions. And some that have been shared is we talked about the story we heard about, I think her name was Grace, adding sugar or chemical into the person's drink, like coffee or whatever it was, and saying that when they put the magnets on their brain, then they said it was fine, that she even tried to poison her because the person still lived. So, and then we also talked a little bit about the health interviews we conducted in lesson 4 with our partners, and like how we can use the selected or the subjective norms to influence people, which I think that could kind of be an intervention. Like if you get your target group and you get them to value you as a leader, you can use how they view you to influence their behavior towards exercise, towards healthy eating, towards really anything, like to benefit them, or you could even use it to harm them, as we saw in that example we had.
But I think also too, it depends on like what's our personal motives too. Like that you said that we have these tools to either help people or we can hurt them. So I think that's something that we have to focus on ourselves, is to have like the intention to help people and to not harm them too.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along like their behavioral, depending on their behavioral beliefs, affects how you can control the beliefs and how you control your own beliefs towards taking action and changing your behavior and like figuring out intentions for others and for yourself as well.
Well, I know here, like in California, they legalized marijuana use. And I think that with that, I mean, a lot of kids think, or a lot of people think it's not a big deal to smoke marijuana, but being that all of us were raised LDS, we might have different personal beliefs, which would affect how we like view, like if you're involved in a vehicle accident or commit some kind of crime, how we might view that a little bit different, like with subjective norms and stuff, than somebody that's not LDS.
Yeah, exactly. I think something too is in one of my other classes, we had to conduct a focus group, and it was about people's beliefs on vaccinations in college students, like if they thought they should get them or not. And it was interesting to see, like, because clearly in like the group, there's leaders and there's followers or people who don't have as much influence, it seems like. But it was interesting to see how the leaders who opinions seem to affect everybody, they were able to change what other people thought. And so like they clearly had more power, and the people who changed their mind either really were influenced by them or they just didn't feel as powerful to be able to express their opinion. And because of that, their behavior changed. Like their intentions about what they thought about the vaccinations and everything completely changed. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
And then also with like education, we can use like that kind of theory to know how to best educate people to give them a desire to want to change their behavior.
Yeah.
And like empower them, make them have buy-in so they want to make modifications.
I like that word, empower them, give them information.
So going on we kind of talked about Grace's scenario from the sugar, the poison. What did each of you just quickly think about the option, or where does each option fit into the morally forbidden or morally permissible range? Like, did you think that it was morally forbidden for her to,
I thought that it was crazy that I don't think, well, because we're just looking at the situation from the outside, I don't really think that I have like an objective opinion about it, because I already know about the permissible, what is it? Morally forbidden and morally permissible. I already know about that, but I thought it was crazy that we would think like, oh, well, she tried to poison her. It's okay because it didn't work out.
Yeah. So maybe since we weren't really in the situation, we weren't as affected as much by the situation. Okay, so we're like out of time. But Karen's gonna be our group leader for next week. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you guys. I'll submit
a link, right, for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.